All right, here we go. This is a video showing you how to make a triangular prism in Fusion 360 and going through the layout. If you're watching this video, you probably missed the day that we did this in class. You should also check Schoology for the note sheet that we worked on. Those notes are the most important parts of what I'm going to go through, and you're allowed to use them on a quiz. Remember, any notes you take, you are welcome to use on a quiz. So you may want to take notes on other things I go through here, but that's entirely up to you. So Fusion 360, first off, is a CAD program. CAD stands for Computer Aided Design. There are lots of different CAD programs. You might have used one before, but we are going to use Fusion 360 for this class. Let's see, Fusion 360 is a program that saves to the cloud. This is kind of far down in the notes that we went. I'm going to jump all over the place because I don't have them in front of me. But it's a program that saves to the cloud. We're going to go ahead and in this video, I'll show you how to organize your files in here. We want to be very organized in this class because I don't want you losing your files so that you can't submit them in Schoology. Organization is a key skill for any job. So because it saves to the cloud, that means that it's sort of like it's saving to the program itself. It's saving to Fusion 360. So any computer that has Fusion 360 on it, if you are signed into your account, you can access all of your files there. For example, I'm currently on my home laptop, which I've downloaded this onto, and I can still access all of the files that I've made at school because this is saved to the cloud, not to the computer. So we have, as our layout for Fusion 360, this is our toolbar. So if I say look at your toolbar, when I'm helping you with something, this is what I mean, is this array of buttons here. And the toolbar has 6 different menus, and that's what these words are here. If I click on a different menu, it'll pop up a different set of buttons. We're going to use the solid menu most of the time, but you can go ahead and pause here and write down those 6 menus on that note sheet. We also have this button here, which will change your workspace. There are 7 different workspaces in Fusion 360. Here are the 7 different workspaces. Go ahead and pause and write those down. We're going to use 3 or 4 of these. We'll mostly use the design workspace, which is this big open grid. That's where we make all of our objects. We will use the drawing workspace. In fact, we've already gotten to that in class. And we will use the animation space very briefly. And if we have time, we'll get to the generative design space. We won't use render, simulation, or manufacture, not in this class. So those are your workspaces. We don't need that for this video, but we will use that in future parts of class. An important part of knowing the layout of Fusion 360 is understanding the browser. So this is the browser. It's a list here that has basically everything included in your document. This right here is the document level. It shows this is my unsaved document, so it doesn't have a name right now. And because it's blank, there's not much in here. But if I were to open a tab where I had a file where I had already created something, all of my components would be listed here. All of my bodies would be, which I'll talk about what the difference between bodies is and components is in a second. And all of my sketches would be listed in here, as well as joints. Those are the points on the note sheet that I wanted you to take note of. We can have components, bodies, sketches, and joints. There are a lot of other things you'll find here, but those are some of the important ones to know that they are located in the browser, because when we are working with a really complicated shape that has a lot of, maybe it's got a lot of components, maybe it's got a lot of different joints to put things together, maybe it has a lot of sketches to it, you want to know how to navigate the browser, find the specific item you're looking for, and then be able to edit it from there. So the browser is really important. We're going to look now at file organization and then I will show you how to make our first object, which is going to be a triangular prism. So this button here is Show Data Panel, and this is where we are going to go to access our files. So if I click on this, it pops out this little window, and you can see these are all of my projects, and then it has some other things here, samples and libraries. We're not going to use those really. We are just focused on the projects here. So you can see that I have, for example, so for the projects are our first level of organization, and you split them into just different projects that you have. For example, I have a project of my PLTW training. I have, this is my project for all of the stuff I used last school year, and this is the project that I have with all of the stuff I'm doing this school year. I have this one pinned. You can pin and unpin projects. If you pin them, they'll stay at the top of the list. If I were to unpin this, it would fall back into alphanumeric order. But I'm going to keep it pinned at the top because that's the one I'm currently using. This project I made for class. We walked through it together. This is where I would like you to please click New Project now, and it'll pop up a project here. And you're going to name it just like this, IED 23-24. You don't have to have the period. The period was an accident. IED 23-24. What that means is that this is for your IED class. Remember, Intro to Engineering Design. That's what this class is. And then this is the 23-24 school year. That's to keep that straight. So if we click inside of a project, we'll find yours is blank because you just made a new one. But this is where we can make folders. And on your note sheet, this is where you want to say that we organize in Fusion 360 by making projects and folders. You should make a different folder for every assignment we do in class. And these folders have all been made for assignments that we're doing in class. The one that we are going to start on today, the triangular prism in this video that we're going to do, is going to be saved into a folder that we're calling Basic Shapes. This is your Basic Shapes assignment. You can make that now if you'd like. You'd click New Folder. It'll pop up a blank folder and you'll name it. Then you'll hit Enter. Or we can do that later when we are saving our files. I will also show you how to do it from there. But that is how we should organize everything in this class. We should have a new project that we just made. That is IED 23-24. And then inside that project, make a folder for every assignment that we start. So when we start working on a Fusion file, be aware of whatever the title of the assignment is. It might be a title you can find in Fusion 360. It might be something that I tell you. If you can't think of what to name the folder, ask me and I'll give you a suggestion. But make sure that you make a new folder every time we start a new assignment. Otherwise, you're going to end up with just a long list of files and you're going to be frantically going through it trying to find the right file to open. So that is how we organize the data. Let's get into actually building something. This is the fun part. So we're going to talk about components real quick. A component is a type of body in Fusion 360, which begs the question, what is a body? A body is pretty much any 3D object that you make in Fusion 360. The difference between a body and a component is that if I ask Fusion to join a component to another component, let's say that I have I've made the top and bottom to a treasure chest and I want to join them together. If I ask Fusion 360 to join the component that is the top part to the component that's the bottom part, it will do it. If I ask Fusion 360 to join the body that's the top part to the body that's the bottom part, it won't do it. Both parts have to be components in order for us to join them together. So in order to avoid working so hard on all of our stuff and then getting all the way to the point of we're ready to join them together and then it won't do it and we can't figure out why, we're just going to default make all of our creations components right from the start. So the first thing we want to do is click the New Component button, which we're going to go up to the toolbar here. We're going to go all the way over till we find Assemble right here, and we're going to find the New Component button right here. It's got a shortcut. You could also click this drop-down list to see all of your new component or all of your assemble tools. But New Component has a nice, easy shortcut right there. It's this little, it's got 3 cubes and a little sunshine. So we're going to click on that. It'll pop up a little menu for us. Might take a second. My laptop runs pretty slowly with this program. So the only thing we really care about with this menu for now is the name. We're always going to change our component name to something related to the shape that we are building. Otherwise, we're going to end up with a list of component 1, component 2, component 3, component 4, and then you're trying to figure out which one is the treasure chest lid, and it's component 54, and you had no way of knowing that because you didn't rename it. So I'm going to name this one triangle because we're making a triangular prism. And I'm going to click OK. We now have a component in our list. Triangle has been added. The next thing we're going to do whenever we are starting to make something is we need to make a sketch. This is the Create Sketch button. And you're going to get very familiar with this button. You're going to need to use it a lot. So we click Create Sketch. It's this one here with the green plus sign. And it will take a little while to load. There we go. So every time you hit Create Sketch, it's going to ask you to pick which plane you want to sketch on. We can pick any of these. I default to the front plane because that is typically the best configuration for your parts. I suggest having one plane that you default to every time, and I suggest it being the front plane. Otherwise, sometimes you might have to rotate your parts around so that we get the best view of them in a drawing, or just to make them work to fit them together. We'll probably have to rotate parts anyways when we're doing assemblies and stuff, but I like to default to the front plane to avoid that as much as possible. So I'm going to click on the front plane. How do I know it's the front plane? The front plane is the one that lines up with this blue and red line. That's our Z and our X axis. If it lines up with that, I'm looking at the front plane, which is this square here. I'm going to click on that, and then it will reorient itself to a two-dimensional grid, and now we can start making shapes. I forgot I need to show you how to change your units. So I'm already in inches, which is the American standard, but you are probably in millimeters because this is probably your first time opening Fusion, unless we have done it in class and you're just a little behind. But just in case, here's what you need to do to change your units. We're going to go to our browser. Remember, your browser is this list on the side here. And we're going to go to Document Settings and click this drop-down arrow. Then we have our units right here. You're going to mouse over that and then click this button that just popped up. So that's going to change the active units. If I change this right now, it'll change what this document is set to. But when you click inch, it should have the option to click this box that says Set as Default. Click that, and then you're going to click OK. And it will set it so that Fusion 360 opens in inches every time. So now that we have our document set to inches, you should have 0.5, 1, 1.5. You should have a scale like this now, as opposed to before you probably had it going like all the way from like 20 to 60, something like that, because it was in millimeters. So we are going to make a triangle, just a simple two-dimensional triangle, and then we're going to make it three-dimensional. So we have our Create tools up here, which are... There are a lot of different options here, a lot of different shapes we could make. We could make polygons, we could make ellipses, we could make a spline. We'll look at a lot of these throughout the year, but we can see that there's no triangle tool. This looks like it might be a triangle tool, but it's not. It's the mirror tool. Don't try to use that. How we're going to make a triangle is we're going to use the line tool. As we know, a triangle is just 3 lines. So we are going to make those 3 lines. You will find in Schoology, attached to the basic shapes assignment, which you're probably working on, and that's why you're watching this video, there is a dimension sheet for those shapes that gives you the dimensions of each of these shapes that you are supposed to build. That's where I'm pulling my numbers from here. So we are going to start by placing the first endpoint of our line. I like to start all of my shapes on the origin. So I'm going to click on the origin for my first endpoint. You just need to click once, and then you can see that it has your line here that you can see, and you can drag it this second endpoint and place it wherever you like. This little blue box with a number in it is telling us if I place my point right here, that's how long my line will be. We want a 3-inch high triangle. So I can either drag this up to 3 inches and then click again to place my second endpoint, or I can type 3 in on my keyboard, and if I hit enter, it will place my second endpoint. If you clicked to place it, then you probably are still in the line tool, and you'll see that if you move your mouse, it's giving you another line that you can place if you click again. Don't do that. What I want you to do is you'll see a little white check mark on your screen. Click that little white check mark. Then you'll still be in the line tool, but it won't be asking you to place the second point of a line. You'll be placing the first point again. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go back into my line tool and click back on the origin. So now we're going to make the base of our triangle, which again, we want 3 inches long. And this time I'll show you what happens if I just click to place it. And here you can see that there's the little white check mark that pops up. If I click that, then I'll be able to make another line without it being connected to this second one that I made. But I don't need to do that this time, because this time I can just close out my triangle by connecting it back up here. And I will click there. Then we have a completed triangle. Notice I'm still in the line tool. I can tell that because my mouse doesn't look normal. It's got some extra stuff around it. To exit any tool, you can hit escape on your keyboard. It's in your upper left corner. Hit escape, and look, I'm not in the line tool anymore. You can also tell when you're in a tool if one of these up here is highlighted blue. So I'm in the line tool, that's highlighted blue. If I hit escape, I'm not in the line tool anymore. It's not blue. But now that we have our full triangle here, we are going to click Finish Sketch. And that is going to take us back to our first grid that we were looking at with multiple planes. And once it gets there, okay, now we're going to make this 2-dimensional triangle into a 3-dimensional prism. The tool we're going to use for that is the extrude tool, which is right here in your create menu. It's the second button right next to create sketch. You're going to use this one a lot as well. So if I click on extrude, sometimes the program will automatically assume, because you only have one surface right now, that you want to extrude that triangle. We'll see if it does this time. If it doesn't, and it doesn't pop up with an arrow and a way to extrude, then you are going to need to select your surface. So see, mine automatically popped up assuming the triangle. So this was a darker blue, and I have this arrow here. If it doesn't pop up like that, you're going to have to click on your triangle. So it would actually look like this, and you'll have to click right there. Now I have two options here. I can either grab this arrow, and notice that when I'm on the arrow, my mouse turns into a hand. So if I'm not on the arrow, I can't grab it. Clicking here would not do anything. It's when it's a hand that you need to grab it. You can either grab that arrow and drag it. If I drag that arrow, it makes it longer. And hopefully, there we go. So it'll increase that length. We want, as you can see on that dimension sheet, we want a length of 10 inches. So I can either drag it all the way out to 10, or in this box here next to distance in our menu, I can type 10, and it will automatically go to 10 inches long. I can hit enter or click OK on that menu. There we go. I'm going to move this a little bit, and you can see, there it is. 3-dimensional shape. Pretty simple one. And this technique alone should get you, I think, 3 of the 5 shapes done. I'm going to make another video where I walk you through the donut. So you can watch that video to get that one done. And then that video should help you be able to finish the arch. And then you'll have all 5 done and you can submit your assignment. I'm going to show you here how to save this file. And then that's going to be it for this video. Save is right here. You have a save button. You also can go to File. Wow. And then you can click Save or Save As. Either of those work. But this is my first time, so I'm just going to click Save. It's going to pop up a box asking me, what do you want to call it? What kind of file do you want? And where do you want to save it to? Oh, it didn't ask me about the file type, but it's just the name and where to save it to. I'm going to call this Triangular Prism. You should always change the name. I don't want to see submissions that are untitled and Untitled 1, Untitled 2. I want them to tell me what is in your file. Then we're going to look at the location. So yours probably says administration project, I think is the default. We're going to click on this drop-down arrow right here next to location, and we're going to make sure we have it saved exactly where we want it. I'm going to save it in IED 2324. That's the project I'm going to save it to. Oh, I need to scroll down so that I can, there we go, if I click and drag it. So now I can see the rest of the screen. So I want IED 2324. You will need to make a new folder unless you made one earlier when we were talking about it. You can click new folder right here and you'll name it basic shapes. I'm going to just click on my basic shapes. Here we go. I already have a bunch of files because these are ones that we've been doing in class. You can see I already have one called Triangular Prism. So I'm going to call this one Triangular Prism Video just to tell that it's different. And since I'm in the right project, in the right folder, I'm going to click Save. You can tell that it's saved because up here where it said Untitled, it's going to change once it fully saves. It should change to say whatever you named your file. There we go. Now it says Triangular Prism Video. And I have that saved and done. And after I go through the donut, I will walk you through how to export files so that you can upload them to Schoology. Because remember, these save to Fusion 360, to the cloud. They do not save to your computer, so you can't access them from Schoology. Not yet. It's very easy how to make that happen. We'll go over that in the next video. Okay, if you have any questions about anything in this video, feel free to watch it again or ask me in class when we have some work time. Hope this was helpful.